The Boston Downfall was one of the top teams in Altitude Season 1. With very respectable players such as Ecosys and Big Cam, they had a great deal of success that rode them all the way to a 3rd place finish. And since this core stuck around for Season 2, you would assume they would be aiming to improve. And this is what they did, becoming the Philadelphia Fission, where they had some massive talent in Milk Tea and Tagny helping them out. But they still couldn't seem to finish it out and got 3rd place again. But still, this core of players remained and moved on to the Vancouver Vibe, where they got 3rd place again. Let's see what happened. The Vancouver Vibe in Season 3 was owned by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Banjo. Banjo, otherwise known as Big Cam, had a reputation as one of the most blunt and toxic players in the league, though this image mostly clouds his actual skill. Cam is especially known for his off-tank, displaying a fantastic Sigma and a very deadly Zarya. But that doesn't matter. Let's move on to his roster. The first pickups for Vibe came in the players of Ecosys, $50, and Emperor Zerg. Ecosys and $50 were a part of that core that came from the Philadelphia Fission and have proven themselves as some great pieces to work with. Emperor Zerg, on the other hand, was a support player who was fairly well respected and a good pickup overall. Then, Vibe picked up Sparky, Deadman, Wildcat, and Octane. Sparky also came from the Philadelphia Fission, and Deadman was a very talented hitscan talent as well. Wildcat was fairly unknown, but did have some potential to do great things, and Octane was a fantastic hitscan player as well. Captain Cat was the next player picked up for Vibe, and they were a support player that was mostly added for depth. Another support player picked up for Vibe was Kyle Overwatch. Kyle is perhaps one of the best budget pickups teams can make, being only platinum but boasting a fantastic Baptiste and Ana. And finally, there was Zoom.
You so fucking precious when you smile.
Zoom was a superstar talent and instantly put Vibe on everyone's radar if they weren't already. Zoom was a part of the Season 2 champions New York Excel and won the award of Grand Finals MVP. He was just overall a great pickup and gave the roster that superstar player that they desperately needed. One important note is that before the season began, Deadman was transferred to the Philadelphia Phoenix. So overall, the roster of the Vancouver Vibe going into Season 3 was Sparky, Banjo, Ecosys, Wildcat, Octane, Zoom, $50, Emperor Zerg, Kyle, and Captain Cat. All in all, most did not know how to feel about the Vibe roster. Players like Zoom and Ecosys had a lot of promise, but players like Captain Cat were gamble bits. We would just have to see how they did. As the season began, players Wildcat and Captain Cat were dropped from the team, which gave Vibe a more tight-knit core to work with. To start off their season, Vibe squared off against the Philadelphia Phoenix. Phoenix had some decent pieces, and overall people expected this game to be quite good, though Vibe they didn't look good in this match. They were sloppy and had to use uncomfortable lineups such as Cam on main tank and Zoom on off tank. This led to a pretty easy 3-1 victory for Phoenix, so Vibe started out their season 0-1. But what is interesting is that further investigation of this match led people to find out that Denny, a player in the Phoenix lineup, was a 4.5k smurf playing on a platinum account. This caused the match to be refunded and gave Vibe a free 3-0 to start their season. After this match, Deadman went back to Vibe from Philly, though he would only serve as a coach/mascot role for the team. As for players, they did pick up Bunny as a tank and ended up dropping Emperor Zerg as he just was not a great fit for the team. As for their next match, it was against the Rome Legion, and once again, Vibe just looked off and took a 1-3 defeat. It was also after this match where Kyle was transferred over to the Los Angeles Gladiators. Bunny was also dropped shortly after as well. The next match for Vibe was against the Toronto Deviant. Deviant at the time was looked at as one of the best teams in the league and truly one of the only S-tier teams at the time. And something happened to Vibe in this match, and they woke up, taking the series in a close 3-2 fashion. Though it was at this point where most people thought Toronto just choked and didn't really think of Vibe as much, which gave them a chip on their shoulder. Never mind that though. Once again, more players were dropped, as Octane was dropped from the roster. However, there also came additions, as My Life's a Meme was brought onto the roster. Meme was a hitscan player back in Season 2 and transferred over to a flex support spot and worked wonders for Vibe. A support line of Dollar and My Life's a Meme was legit frightening and definitely added to Vibe's success. And let's talk about that success, as Vibe rode their momentum onto a confident 3-0 victory over the Soul Strikers. Overall, Vibe was 3-1 going into the mid-season. To start out their mid-season, Vibe went against the Shanghai Shenanigans. Shanghai was actually looking quite good, and overall this match looked like it would be very good in general, and it was. The first two maps were quite confident from Vibe, but once Zoom had to leave, Shanghai picked it up and was able to tie the series 2-2, though once Zoom came back in, Vibe was able to pull it through. After this match, Vibe picked up a player known as Flunk, though they would not do much and was dropped shortly after. It was also around this time where rumors circulated around the idea of Vibe disbanding, though we are not sure how much credibility this actually had due to it being from News Altitude. As for Vibe's next match, they played the Dallas Fried and took a dominant 3-0 victory. After this match, they bolstered their tank line with the pickups of PC and Bloxers, but once again, they were dropped shortly after. The next opponent for Vibe was probably their most important match of the season up until this point. They were up against the Los Angeles Gladiators. Glads were 5-0 at the time and were looked at as one of, if not the best team in the league, and this was the perfect chance for Vibe to truly prove themselves as a top dog, and they delivered. After a close set of 5 maps, Vibe was able to defeat Glads and deliver them their first loss of the regular season.
I mean, pretty slow. He's still not back yet. What the heck?
I mean, he can't be walking though. But as we see, Sparky will have that shatter, but so is Mist. So this.
Oh, it doesn't matter who has the shatter. It's always Sparky Clock. That doesn't go out the top. We need like a little you know how we have Grime.
However, despite this, most still wrote off Vibe since Glads recently lost their amazing off-tank control. Either way, Vibe had to continue on, and they did as they rolled through their next opponent with a dominant 3-0 victory against the Washington Injustice. Despite people writing them off, Vibe was looking great going into the end of the season. But this is where things started to change. For one, the DPS duo of Vibe, EchoSays and Zoom, took breaks from the team for personal reasons, and Zoom ended up getting transferred to the Beijing Alliance. This meant that Vibe had to get a new DPS duo for the roster, though they filled it in a very interesting way. For one, they brought back Octane, who was previously on the Vibe at the beginning of the season and was still a great talent. However, to fill the flex DPS spot, it was actually Cam that would take it. Yes, an off-tank player. This meant that Vibe had to fill the off-tank spot, and to do that they brought on Swanky Pants, or Coop. Coop was actually a really good player, so definitely a good fill, but most still worried about having Cam on DPS. But let's move on to the next game. This was against the Atlanta Reign. Reign was a decent team at the time, and theoretically this should have been a very easy match for Vibe, but these new lineups proved to be a far bigger challenge than Vibe ever imagined, as they had to reverse sweep for this match, though luckily they did end up doing that, and winning it in a 3-2 fashion. This match made even more people question Vibe, and it was only a matter of time before they lost, and this defeat came when they faced the Tokyo Drift. Granted, it was close going to 5 maps, though Drift were considered one of the worst teams at the time, so Vibe losing to them was a huge hit. Then, they lost to the Houston Hammers in a 1-3 fashion as well. Vibe was falling apart, and they needed something to help. They found this with the pickup of Ryan. Finally, they had another DPS player. Also on the bright side, their next match was against the lowly Guangzhou Gambit, one of the worst teams at the time. Vibe was able to rebound after their 2 losses and get a quality 3-1 win over the Gambit. Also, since Gambit disbanded shortly after this match, Vibe picked up the flex tank of Hudson, who came from Gambit as well. Vibe's final match of the regular season was against the Los Angeles Wave, and this match was honestly a bit of a grudge match. See, way before this match started, Cam made a bet that he would leave the league if Vibe lost this match. This hyped up the match and made most people think that it would be a fairly close game, though this was not the case. Wave just outclassed Vibe in every way and took a very dominant 3-0 win.
He gives so much space. He was the only one there that could really recontest. It's going to be Cam jumping in here at the last second. EchoSays stalling, but now it's time for Cam. He has his Primal Rage. Fusa takes down EchoSays. The Primal Rage has to come in here, and it does. Cinder being moved back, just trying to buy space, but Fusa focuses on the other side of the fight. He takes down 2, and finally Cam's out.
Oh,
no one else is there.
Still happening, and yep. Wave takes this 3-0. GG's in chat.
Let's just say, while Cam did not leave the league, their new pickup Hudson did end up getting dropped. But now the postseason was here, and Vibe was going into it with a 9-4 record and the number 8 seed overall. Vibe also decided to pick up 4 new players to help fill out their roster, and well, they were some interesting ones.
And here to present the annual playoff draft, it's Josh Chekhov.
Yay. Shitty diva player.
Hello, my name is Josh Chekhov, and welcome to the annual playoff draft for Altitude. This is where teams expand their roster and try to pick up players to fill up their roster, whether that be for depth or for memes. Today, we have the Vancouver Vibe with 4 astounding pickups for their postseason. So let's get into it. First, we have, Zoom Overwatch. You know, a very, very great player. Arguably the deadlift of Vibe in the beginning of the season, so frankly, a great pickup. Secondly, we have Fancy. You know, Fancy, it's not as bad as it sounds. You know, Fancy, he made it to the grand finals in Season 2 with Dallas Fried and stuck with Dallas Fried in Season 3. How did Fried do? Moving on, we have Kyle Overwatch. You know, Kyle, he's a great budget pickup, being only platinum, but displaying a great, you know, Ana, and especially on Baptiste, it's probably his best character. And even has managing experience when he managed the London Aces. How did Aces do? And let's move on to the last pickup, which we have. It says Juice.
Yeah, let's just say some of these players were definitely going to get used differently than others, but let's forget about that. Since it was the end of the season, Vibe got to enjoy some accolades as well. While no players got a role star on Vibe, Juice was awarded the Dennis Havelka Award, $50 was the most improved player, and Zoom was awarded the regular season MVP award, so congratulations to them. While they looked a little shaky towards the later half of the season, no one could deny that Vibe had talent to create something special. The first match for Vibe of the postseason was against the Boston Teabags. Boston recently rebuilt with a brand new roster and were looking like one of the easier opponents in the play-ins. Though Vibe, they looked a little shaky in this match. For one, Cam on main tank just looked way out of place, and Synergy as a whole was just down. Though clutch plays from Zoom allowed the team to win in a 3-1 fashion. The next match of the play-in survive was against the Philadelphia Phoenix. This match was honestly one that people in the Altitude community were dreading. There was a lot of toxicity leading up to this match, and people knew it would be a slugfest. Though Vibe were actually quite dominant and showed everyone up, taking the match in a confident 3-0 fashion and booking their ticket to the overall playoffs.
He finds the kill, 2 kills from Zoom. The recontest is in. It's a 4v4 on the point. 5 now. Octane is back on the Tracer and he gets 1. Zoom gets another. Someone has to touch again. It's Emerge on the Mercy, but he's slept up. Can't do damage while you're slept. Can't do damage as a Mercy in the first place. Zelen on the Tracer won't survive. And Vibe make their way into the playoffs.
For their first match of the overall playoffs, Vibe squared off against the Beijing Lions. Lions were the #1 seed at the time and were a big favorite going into the tournament, and overall, they just outclassed Vibe in almost every way. Lions took this 3-1, and Vibe were sent down to the losers bracket. But this is where something clicked, and Vibe, they went on their tear. It first started off with the New York Excalibur, who while alright in a double shield meta, paled in comparison to Vibe's strength, and Vibe won it 3-1. Next came the Florida Thieves. While Thieves were able to push the Shanghai Shenanigans quite close, Cajun decided to be the 7th player for Vibe that day, and Vibe won the series 3-0. Finally, there was the Los Angeles Wave, and after they lost to them in the regular season, Vibe was ready for vengeance, and they took it, dismantling the Wave in a grueling 3-0 victory.
That's just in the middle of nowhere.
And this is it! Ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Wave are knocked out. The Vancouver Vibe put the L into LA.
Beautiful.
And just like that, Vibe were at the losers finals, and only 1 match away from the grand finals. But who were there with them? Then the Beijing Lions. Lions took a big loss to the Shanghai Shenanigans in the winners finals, and this made them look like a legit opponent when stacked up to Vibe. This match was predicted to be insane, and there were so many insane matchups to look forward to. It started rough for Vibe, as Zoom had to serve a 1-map ban due to mute dodging. This led the team to have to use Juice for map 1, who they never have scrimmed with. And while Juice is a great player and apparently DPS diff misled and grimy, he isn't Zoom. This put the team 0-1 in the series, and Lions took the next map and made it a confident 2-0. The Vibe were not ready to give up and rebounded, taking the next 2 maps. The Lions, they were too strong and ended up taking maps 5 and 6, and the series 4-2. Despite the Cinderella story, Vibe would leave Altitude Esports Mock Overwatch League Season 3 in 3rd place overall.
Enough here, especially with Octane going out. There's no one even near.
This is Lions win. There's no one to touch. I don't even think Sparky can get back fast enough.
$5-0's hacked. Sparky's on the ball, but he's body blocked. 2 minutes remaining. He's antied up. Zoom back on the Tracer, but Sparky slept up. All of them dead. Neem is the last one. but he's shattered down. It's the Winston back, but Beijing Lions will be moving on to the grand finals.
Vibe honestly had a great season. They had everything you wanted, ups, downs, and a fantastic playoff run that no one was expecting. The team did end up disbanding, but no one can deny how good of a season Vibe had. My final score for the Vancouver Vibe in Season 3 is a 9 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Season in Review, and I hope you enjoyed it. And a big shout out to Zoom and EchoSays for helping me with some of the information on this episode. Catch you later.